It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Monday. Here we go again. Rinse and repeat. Oh, and today's supposed to be a special holiday for hypocrites. Hang on, I'll explain.
Today's show is sponsored by Horseshoe Doorstops, made from real horses.
Okay, that was just weird.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilet, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave. Special holiday for hypocrites. Now, if you think about that for a moment, what day would that be? Giving you just a second. If you guessed Earth Day, well, hell yeah, that's today.
I admit I have not been recycling. In fact, I have been openly encouraging people to be wasteful. I often go to other people's recycling bins and throw them into the regular trash. I own 30 stretch limousine Hummers, and I keep them all running even when I am sleeping. And I always dump my unused paint directly into the ocean. I am truly sorry. I thought carpools were for these, and sustainable energy was for dogs. Organic farmers can eat my synthetic panties. Seals can go straight to hell. Now, as for an inconvenient truth, I thought that was a veritable movie suckfest. I think a much more representative look at our planet can be seen in the John Travolta masterpiece, Battlefield Earth.
Okay, so it is Earth Day, and like I say, it's a special holiday for hypocrites. Just to give you an idea, the first Earth Day, I remember watching some video on this. It was, what was it, back in 1970? I think they might have had that. I'll double-check the date on that. But a bunch of people went to the mall in Washington to celebrate the first Earth Day. And when they got done, they had trashed the mall. There was garbage all over the place. Now, if you remember, there were some rallies by a conservative group. I know Glenn Beck some years ago did a big rally that took over much of the mall in Washington. And when they were done, the mall was cleaner than when they showed up. Compare that to your typical Earth Day celebration. Oh, and one of the stories that I have here, let's see, this is from a guy who says he's an environmentalist. His name is Tim Smedley. Why I Hate Earth Day by an environmental writer. He said, I'm not decrying the success of all Earth Days in the past. Well, I am, but okay. For children and activists of the 70s, the original Earth Day was a necessary and, here we go, systemic movement. Have to throw in buzzwords like systemic. But that was then. Now Earth Day seems tokenistic, patronizing, and pathetically minimal, given the scale of the challenges we face. Other recent international days of Earth include World Radio Day, International Day of Happiness, World Tuna Day. Oh, wow. Keep that in, write that one down. World Tuna Day is May 2nd. I had no idea. Earth Day is just another quirk, a blip on the calendar. Earth Day, really? Just one day to recognize and turn around environmental disasters? Well, but what he really can't stand, as I got into the article he was writing here, these people drive and fly from all over to get to Earth Day. This is a lot like one of the big climate summits when people fly from all over Earth in corporate jets to attend an Earth Day festivity and eat a lot of meat. They're not eating bugs. They're not eating vegetables. They eat a lot of meat. They drive around in limousines. I forget which country he was from, but one prime minister of a country, he flew in on a corporate jet, rode in with was a limousine, I think it was, limousine or SUV. It was an SUV until he got close to the Earth Day event. Then he got out, and they pulled out of the back of the SUV a bicycle so he could be seen pulling up to the event on a bicycle. This is typical Earth Day hypocrisy. It's a day of hypocrites. And so part of the article that I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but part of the article I was just reading from asked a very good question from this environmentalist, so-called environmentalist anyway. So why, if you want to go to Earth Day celebrations, do you get in your vehicle and drive all that way or buy a plane ticket? Why not celebrate from home? If you really care about your CO2 emissions and so on, would make a lot more sense, wouldn't it? Okay. And then I came across, let me see, Amsterdam court rules that sustainable aviation company advertising has misled customers. They're not sustainable. These are just some of the Earth Day stories I'll hint on today. And this one, greenwashing tactic that gives the jet-setting celebrities a license to pollute. Voluntary carbon credits for the multi-billion-dollar market. So, in other words, in order to feel guilt-free about getting in your limousine, leaving your one of your several big mansions, and getting in your limousine or sports car and driving to the airport where you get into a corporate jet and fly to Paris to have breakfast and then fly all the way back. But you care about the environment, right? So what do? Well, you buy carbon credits. There. Now you're guilt-free. That's all you have to do. You don't have to do anything to save the planet. Now, let's go back locally at home here. I'll pick on someone who I have to talk about in the next segment because of what happened at the Wyoming Republican Convention this weekend. Governor Mark Gordon, who wants the state to reach not just net zero, but negative carbon emissions. And yet, he's arrived on the scene in places that I've been, events that were going on, and he arrives in a SUV to cover all sorts of different events. Or he flies around in one of the two corporate jets that the state of Wyoming has. And many other members of the governor's cabinet and other members, if the governor really cared, he's in charge of the executive branch. If he really wanted to reach negative, not just net zero, but negative CO2, wouldn't he just get rid of those corporate jets? And yet we still have them. So on a day like today, I will spend just a little bit of time just poking at the left and the cult of climate change. It's supposed to be Earth Day. You hypocrites.
My name is Cam, and I've got the plan. I have a short attention span. What is that over there? Squirrel.
Yep, there you have it. A new level of crazy. And you heard it here first. The best talk show host in the state. With Ingrid Price Range. Tune in to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Weekdays at 6.
6:21's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Monday. It is Earth Day, so I'll be picking on that all morning long. By the way, Don, morning Don. Don's in Laramie. Happy Earth Day. It's really Vladimir Lenin's birthday. That's why Earth Day is celebrated on this day. Eddie John, good morning. I ran into one of the legislators yesterday. He stated the reason for the censure and that he violated the state party platform. Okay, so what he's talking about there, Eddie John, is so I was at Friday, I think is when I heard about this, that Governor Gordon was not going to attend this weekend's Republican convention. It's an election year, so of course they have a convention, and all of the delegates from Wyoming show up. This time it was held in Cheyenne, Wyoming, to set the party's platform, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All sorts of Republican Party businesses taken care of. And one of the things they did was officially censure Governor Mark Gordon. Now, before, I had kind of stopped it. Wasn't he censured one time before? No, that was slightly different. They basically gave him a vote of no confidence. So when Gordon went to Harvard University and spoke about the state of Wyoming, not just going carbon neutral, but negative, and talked about the cult of climate change and so on, he's a believer in all of that. And so the Republican Party gave him a vote of no confidence. All right. This goes a step further in official censure, which actually really doesn't do anything on the whole other than show their displeasure with the governor. This whole thing was adopted, voted on, and done pretty much just without debate. There was one person who tried to pull the resolution, but it was just voted on and passed. So Republicans agreed that the governor's rejection of property tax relief and legislation that would have eliminated the remainder of gun-free zones in Wyoming were things that he should have not vetoed. And there were some other things that the governor vetoed they disagreed with, which is not in line with what the party supports or believes or the platform. So, let's see, Secretary of State Chuck Gray said, this censure resolution brings some accountability. Governor Gordon has enabled Biden and the most radical leftists in America who are trying to help illegal immigrants vote in our elections. So the governor's office released a statement. The governor supports everyone's First Amendment right to have their share of opinions. Our traditional conservative grand old party policies are the bedrock of a free and civil society. The governor stands behind his decision to use his constitutional right to veto flawed legislation. So, once again, the censure doesn't hold any weight. It's just a formal public group condemnation of a member whose actions run counter to the group's belief and standards. But that answered my question. When the governor decided not to show up to the convention at all, my first thought was, well, I don't think he really can. I mean, there's a lot of people who will be cordial, but there would be problems. But I also wondered, did he get wind of this? I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try to get inside his head all of this, but it makes me wonder, so did he get wind of this, that this was going to come up and he would have to go through this? And so even though he's right there in Cheyenne, I mean, they're holding the convention at the Little America in Cheyenne. And for those who don't know the Cheyenne area, the distance between the governor's mansion and Little America, I mean, he can hop in a vehicle and be there in just like 5 minutes. From the governor's mansion, he drops down. It's right next to Interstate 25. So he drops down onto Interstate 25 and heads down just a few miles and takes this ramp that drops him right into Little America. There it is. It's not hard at all. So he could have gone. So when I hear he's not going to go to the convention, I thought, I wonder what he knows. Well, now I do know. He was officially censured. Now, he is not up for re-election at all. He's done his 2 terms. Okay, and that's supposed to be the end of it. So we have up until not this election cycle, but the next election cycle is when Gordon is finally out and we have to pick somebody else. So, all right, we have until then, and my thought would be, let's just make sure, Republican Party, things that he would like, the governor would like to do, or would like to veto, to have not done, that we just put the brakes on it and make him as ineffective as possible, which is one of the reasons I didn't like. They gave the governor over $100 million in discretionary spending, and a lot of it had to do with, climate change things and so on, with pretty much no oversight on it, which I highly objected to. My thought is, let's just let him take care of the business of the office, but a lot of the things he would like to get done, let's make sure he doesn't get them done. There. Then we can go ahead and pick somebody else's. And next time, Governor Gordon was really good when he was in charge of Wyoming's investments. One of the reasons Wyoming has such a nice big fat nest egg is because of Gordon. So when he was in that office, he did a great job for the state. And I don't have anything personally against the guy. I've always thought, I'm never going to assault his character because he's a person of good character. And I've always enjoyed talking to him. He's a decent person. But I never wanted him to be governor, and here are the reasons why. You see the reasons why now. So that means next time around, the Republicans out there, and I'm not just talking to the party, I'm talking to the citizens who vote across Wyoming, be very careful about who you're picking next time around. Now, I know Gordon wound up in office first time he was elected in. There were some people that a lot of people in Wyoming would have liked to have seen, but there were too many candidates running. And Governor Gordon did not get way more votes than everybody else. It was a matter of other candidates canceling each other out, including 2 billionaires running, to the point that the person with the highest number of votes left was Gordon. So if it hadn't have been for all of those other candidates, I don't think he would have ever wound up in office in the first place. But, all right, coming up on 6:30, local news coming your way. Right after local news, update on your weather forecast, and you and I get back into it. Wake Up Wyoming.
talking to himself in a padded room, and you could be the voice in his head. Join the conversation on Wake Up Wyoming, 866-97-WOODS.
.36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. If you just joined me, Governor Gordon, Republican convention was held in Wyoming this weekend. Governor Gordon centered. Today's also Earth Day, so I'll be picking on hypocrites throughout the entire program today, just because I can. It's also the beginning of Passover. And, of course, because of that, at universities around the country, there are pro-Palestinian protests. Now, for this comment, I'm not going to pick sides. I can, but I'm not going to. I just have a question for the parents out there. When you sent your kid to college, now many of you put a whole bunch of money aside to send your kid to college. Some of you took out big loans to send your kid to college. Did you send your kids to college to get an education in something that will help them be successful in life? In other words, pick a career, go to college, get educated for that career, and then become a successful person in America? Or did you send them to college to get indoctrinated in somebody else's beliefs? And we can pick all sorts of beliefs, whether, these pro-Palestinian protests or whether it's the cult of climate change, or pick something. There's all sorts of things that they're getting indoctrinated in. They never thought this way. They never believed these things until they showed up at college and got radicalized by their professors. Is that what you sent your kid to college for? Okay, wouldn't it be great if the college did what you see? There's schools they can go to learn plumbing, electrical work, all sorts of things like that. Going to those schools, they focus on the task. Oh, so you want to be a surveyor? Okay, we're going to teach you how to be a surveyor. And they just teach that. There's not all sorts of extra classes around it, so on. This is what you want to do? You want to be a plumber? That's what we're going to teach you. You want to be a mechanic? We're going to teach you that. These vocational schools, these technical schools, that's what they teach these kids, and that's it. I've never seen protests like this outside of a vocational school, ever. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've never seen any vocational school or technical school have protests like this. Yet, the more prestigious the university is, the more protests like this we have. Which tells me you sent your kids to a school where the professors thought, oh, good, fresh meat. And I'm going to radicalize these kids in my beliefs. And they do. Remember Occupy Wall Street, where that came from. Where did those kids get those dumb ideas? Yeah, from their college professors. They got to school and rather than getting a degree in something that would lead them to a successful life, they were radicalized. And as a parent, that cost you how much money? All right. Now, on that note, oh, hey, I haven't played this in a while. And I'll play this more than once throughout the day. But ladies and gentlemen, Ocasio-Cortez. Speaking of college, Ocasio-Cortez. Yeah, Google Eyes, or for that, my second favorite song on this one, Marty Feldman Eyes. Because if you think about it, if you remember who Marty Feldman is, if you don't look up that name, you'll see what I mean. Then go look at Googly Eyes. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Her hair is hollow and black. Her lips steel ice. Her hands take no flack. She's got Marty Feldman eyes.
So, okay, let's put all that away for a second. I'm saying all of this because what she said in relation to college today and student loans.
People's forgiveness, their student loans canceled, it means that, you know, it's hope to buy a house or have a kid or travel abroad or maybe even go back to school.
Go back to school? Go back to school. So you're telling me that I'm on the hook for paying off somebody's student loans for a degree that they voluntarily signed up for, that they took out debt for, and now I have to pay for it so that they can go get a second degree and take out loans for that, and then what? Then you're going to tell me that I'm on the hook for paying for that too, because now it's their MBA that's keeping them from buying that 5-bedroom they've always wanted. Go back to school? Do they teach math in any of these schools? Like, I don't know. The fact that student loan forgiveness doesn't actually forgive loans. It just transfers the balance onto somebody like me who paid off my own debt, or I don't know, wasn't stupid enough to be up to my eyeballs in debt in the first place. But sure, I'll just sit over here with my 1 degree and work my tail off until May to pay the tax bill so that I can foot the bill for Billy's degree so that he can just run out and get another one. Go back to school.
Yeah, see, I think she nailed it exactly right on there. It's not student loan forgiveness. It's a student loan transfer. Transferring that loan so the rest of us have to pay for it. But, you know, that's Googly Eyes Cortez for you.
What? No, I'm not. She's the crazy ex-girlfriend. That's a sexist term. She's the crazy ex-girlfriend. Can you guys stop singing for just a second? She's so broken inside. The situation's a lot more nuanced than that. C-R-A-Z-Y.
Admit it. You were hoping somebody would say that. You asked for an expert. We didn't have the budget for that. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. and 24/7 on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
6:49 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off to the icebox we go. Frank Gambino is strapped in. After a nice vacation, you all suntanned?
Well, I am, and I can get used to that. So
yeah.
I'm going to try to plan a future move by rearranging my finances, which starts and finishes with winning the lottery.
Oh, I see. So
if I do not win the lottery, then we cannot live there.
Okay, then you'll be here next week.
Oh, I'll be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if I win the lottery, then I won't be here next week.
No, I just if I ever show up one day and you're just not here anymore,
then you'll know. Yeah,
2 things: you're dead.
Yeah,
or you won the lottery.
Yeah.
In which case, if you won the lottery, we're dead to you. You're not dead.
Right.
Yes, okay, we'll just go with that.
But that's the financial realities of that. Win the lottery.
That's it. Frank and I were just having a discussion. Just do this real quick, Frank. So you spent some time in my hometown.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, looking at the damage.
It's a nice little place. The Dairy Queen didn't make it.
No, it didn't.
But the 7-Eleven did.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's kind of like, it's like, hey, there's a 7-Eleven down in that.
My sister and I were both commiserating because we both worked at that Dairy Queen as our first job.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's just gone. But, Frank, another retirement plan, that Dairy Queen is for sale.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Some assembly required.
Yeah, like all assembly required and demolition also. It's just, a shell of its former self. Right. I'm like, that was all the blizzards of the island was made there, and now there's no blizzards.
None whatsoever, no. So for those who don't know, Sanibel Island, my hometown, was hit by Hurricane Ian, 19 months ago?
19 months,
yeah. Wow, and they're still repairing.
Oh, yeah. All right, boys high school soccer from over the weekend. First on Friday, Cheyenne Central over Thunder Basin 4-1. Sheridan and Laramie played to a 2-2 tie. Campbell County shut out Cheyenne South 5-0. On Saturday, Kelly Walsh crushed Riverton 7-0. Sheridan over South 5-1. Laramie blanked Campbell County 4-0. And Thunder Basin played Cheyenne East to a 4-4 tie. On the girls' side from Friday, Laramie over Sheridan 2-1. Campbell County beat South 6-1. Thunder Basin a winner over Cheyenne Central 2-0. On Saturday, Riverton over Kelly Walsh 2-0. Cheyenne East and Thunder Basin played to a 1-1 tie. Campbell County over Laramie 2-0. And Sheridan beat South on Saturday's action. In Stanley Cup playoffs in hockey, the Colorado Avalanche are down 1-0 in their series with Winnipeg after a 7-6 loss last night. The Avs just totally sloppy on defense. And how does a team that scores 6 goals in a playoff game manage to lose? Winnipeg's been on fire lately. They've won 9 in a row, and they've beaten the Avs 3 straight times. Game 2 of that series will be tomorrow. In the NBA playoffs, the Denver Nuggets will host the Los Angeles Lakers tonight in Game 2 of their Western Conference Series. The Nuggets won Game 1 handily over the Lakers as Nikola Jokic had 32 points for the Nuggets. Denver has beaten the Lakers 9 straight times. Also in the NBA playoffs, former Wyoming Cowboy Larry Nance Jr. playing for the New Orleans Pelicans, and New Orleans lost their first game of their playoff series to Oklahoma City last night, 94-92. Nance had 8 points and 8 rebounds in 19 minutes of floor time. Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies split a doubleheader with Seattle. They won the first game 2-1 in 10 innings. Ryan McMahon drove in the game-winning run with a base hit in the 10th. That broke a 6-game losing streak for the Rockies, but then Colorado returned to earth in the second game, losing 10-2 as the Mariners scored 6 times in the second inning. The Rockies are 5-17. That is the worst record in the National League, and they will host San Diego tonight in Denver. And coming up on Saturday, the Wyoming Cowboy football team will have their annual spring game. This will be at Cheyenne East High School due to renovations at War Memorial Stadium in Laramie. They'll start at 1 o'clock on Saturday at Oakey Blanchard Stadium.
Can you fit everybody in there at the...
Oh, yeah. Oh, there'll be plenty of room, yeah.
Oh, okay.
There'll be plenty of room. And not a whole bunch of people go to the spring game anyway, but it's just plenty of room. The parking lots are big. You can hang out. There'll probably be tailgating. I don't know. Maybe not.
No. What's a football game without tailgating?
Well, yeah, but they're on high school grounds.
Oh, so
I wonder if there's different rules.
Are they allowed to bring beer?
Oh, that's the question.
Oh, that is a great question. Because
I don't know.
And then what do they serve to people during the course of the game? Well, certainly not beer.
Well, no, they probably can have something else.
Yes. Well, I guarantee you, Frank.
Or you can invent something.
I guarantee you, Frank, there's going to be beer.
Somewhere, yeah.
Somewhere. It's just a matter of how they smuggle in it.
Yeah, right, yeah. You got to be creative.
That's right. All right, thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business that we have to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. And then I just found this out. Today is Earth Day. I knew that. Someone started a climate clock countdown to disaster. Okay. This is the cult of climate change for you, and it is Earth Day, so we'll take a look at it. Wake Up Wyoming. 6 at a time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Monday. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me.
Today's show is sponsored by Horseshoe Doorstops, made from real horses.
That's just, I'll say what I said before. That's just absolutely weird. Okay, today is a holiday. Well, a couple of them for the Jewish folks out there. Today's the beginning of Passover. All right. But it's also supposed to be Earth Day. And on Earth Day, of course, I like to point out the climate hypocrites. Well, now we have something new. Ladies and gentlemen, I just found out there's an Earth Day countdown clock, and it disagrees with all of the other predictions that were made. Hang on, I'll explain.
I admit I have not been recycling. In fact, I have been openly encouraging people to be wasteful. I often go to other people's recycling bins and throw them into the regular trash. I own 30 stretch limousine Hummers, and I keep them all running even when I am sleeping. And I always dump my unused paint directly into the ocean. I am truly sorry. I thought carpools were for seas, and sustainable energy was for ducks. Organic farmers can eat my synthetic panties. Maybe seals can go straight to hell. Now, as for an inconvenient truth, I thought that was a veritable movie suckfest. I think a much more representative look at our planet can be seen in the John Travolta masterpiece, Battlefield Earth, you're a wonderful...
So, let's take a look at... I was looking for a great Earth Day song, and some of them are just these stupid little kid songs. Decided not to do it. Here's the latest. So, what was it? You heard Googly Eyes Cortez repeat a while ago. We have 12 years to save the planet or reach a tipping point. And what are we now, like 9 years in? I'll have to look that up. Al Gore had predicted we have 10 years till we reach a tipping point, and we're something like 15 years behind that. Yeah, I'll look it up, but I mean, we're beyond that. Other predictions were made about the tipping point. Well, now, I was about to say Prince Charles. He was Prince at the time. King Charles, though, says we had like 9 days or something like that. I mean, it was really stupid, all the different tipping points that have come and gone. Okay, now we will all be done by 2027. Story says, since the climate change nuts, that's what it says here in the story. I'm reading it directly. Swear, we will all die in just 3 years. You might as well stop working, go party, don't bother paying your bills. And when you are done celebrating in a New York restaurant, just walk out. Don't even bother. Well, now, I have to make sure, because maybe the author here has it wrong. A lot of times they say that we're going to reach a point in 3 years, but they don't mean it's the end, like boom, we're done. Not like the planet blows up or something. It's more like we reach the tipping point where there is no return and the weather just gets way out of control by then and there's nothing we can do about it. Well, I got news for you. The planet's always been out of control. The weather's always been out of control, and there's never been anything we could do about it. But okay. The story says if they complain, Biden has confirmed that we will die by 2027. Just look at the clock. That's what he is. That's when he's forgiving all student loan debts. Hey, equality means we should all be forgiven of debts, including taxes. So, look, I look at it this way. If student loan debts will be forgiven by 2027, if that's what they're saying here, if the end of the world happens then what do I care if Biden forgives debts? And by the way, it's not debt forgiveness. It's a transfer of debt to the rest of the American people. Nothing's being forgiven. But all right. The proof, the sea levels are rising. It may have only risen by a few millimeters since 1885 and today, but who's really counting? Others say the sea level have risen because we all gain weight. So we're actually kind of sinking. I don't know. Whatever the case is, it's not organic fuel. So I went ahead, because that was a very sarcastic article. It sounds like something I would write. So I went ahead and looked at Climate Clock, because there's a bunch of protesters holding up a big sign, Climate Clock. So I looked it up. climateclock.world. Just type that into your browser, climateclock.world. And let's see, campaigns, clocks, the most important number in the world, displayed everywhere, and it has a countdown clock going. New York, Seoul, Glasgow, they have all of these different climate clocks ticking away. The Climate Clock, art, science, technology, grassroots organizations, is centered on a simple tool. The clock counts down the critical time window till we reach our deadline while tracking our progress on climate change. Okay. First time I saw the climate clock, it woke me up to something inside me, said a global ambassador. Of course, he's with the cult of climate change. But okay, here's what they said. To save the world, I'm looking at what's in front of me on the website. Forget the sarcastic article that I just wrote. The planet has a carbon budget, really. Only burn, and they give numbers how much we can burn. So many tons more. To avoid famine, drought, floods, displacement, conflict, suffering, disaster. We must end fossil fuels. There's no such thing as a fossil fuel, but all right. And transition to a just and sustainable future. Oh, wind turbines are just and the Earth has a deadline, and they emphasize dead. Let's make it a lifeline. Again, I'm just reading from what's coming up in front of me. It's time to synchronize our watches. I see. Everyone. Everywhere. Hashtag climate clock. All right. And then they give me an hashtag. Action time is the other one. Okay. So climateclock.world. That's the website that I'm on, and I'm waiting for the clock. Because actually, I think the actual clock starts at like 7 years. Let's see what they say. I'm waiting for the clock to come back up. Okay, it looks like a big I'm watching a video in front of me here. Looks like a doomsday clock going around. Analog clock, by the way. Come on, give me the numbers. Okay, 7 years, 301 days, 13 hours, and 9 minutes. How the hell did they come up with that? I want to know how they came up with that. I mean, they got it right down to the second as to how long we have until we reach a tipping point and we can no longer save the planet. The number I just read off, they actually have a countdown. 7 years, 300 whatever days, 29 minutes, and there's seconds counting away. So this, to me, some years ago there was a doomsday cult that believed that the end of the world, they were a Christian cult, and they believed that the end of the world was going to happen at a certain date and time. And they had biblically all the math was done. They had it all counted out. They knew everything was going to come to an end at this exact date and time. Well, that date and time happened, and nothing happened. So with this climate clock, I'm going to have to go look that up, the climate clock thing. I'm going to have to go look it up. I want to know. Where the hell did they get the number down to the last second that we reach some kind of a tipping point? But okay, there's your cult of climate change for you. Let's go save the planet on this day today, which, in case you didn't know, is Earth Day. Who's tracking it anymore?
My world, everyone's a pony, and they all eat rainbows and poop butterflies.
That's beautiful, Katie.
Well, that image is going to stick with you all day. Like a strong cup of coffee in the morning. Tasteless, but it'll get you through the day. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Real quick, let me do a little fun cleanup here. Today's Earth Day. And I was looking for Earth Day events, and there really isn't much going on. The Palestinian protests are taking the bulk of the news, so I guess you're not supposed to worry about the planet today and saving the planet, because what's more important than saving the planet is saving Palestine, I guess. And so I typed in, when did Al Gore predict that we had 10 years left to save the planet? Now, here is a flat-out lie by Reuters News. Al Gore did not predict the ice caps melting by 2013. Actually, I can play you the audio. Now, he was repeating what somebody else said, but Al Gore said that by 2013, the North Pole in the summertime would no longer have ice. That's what he said, and that has not happened. All right. Now, Al Gore also said we have 10 years to save the planet, or we reach a tipping point and it's over. There's no going back after that. We're doomed. He said that back in 2009. Well, it's 2024. Do the math. So we're well beyond that. Let me see. Red and Casper, I can help them automate the clock. He's talking about the climate countdown clock. Have it reset to 7 years every 50 minutes or so. Which is, don't worry about it. They're going to kick the can down the road anyway. That's what Al Gore did. When we passed the 10-year mark, Al Gore quit talking about it and kicked the can down the road. When Greta Thunberg said, we have to stop using fossil fuels in 5 years or we reach a tipping point and we're done. Well, she was repeating some other, is supposed to be a climatologist. The guy's a quack, okay? But anyway, that date came and went, and all that happened was Greta took that message off of her Twitter account so nobody could see it anymore. It's okay, we already had it. Rick and Cheyenne, good morning, Glenn. Did you know you can buy plane tickets according to your carbon footprint? Yes, in fact, what even got me is, and I'd heard about this, but I just recently saw it. I'm not trying to buy a new car, but I was looking at a sticker on a car for the price and all that, and they include the carbon footprint of the vehicle. And my thought when looking at the carbon footprint of the vehicle, not big enough. I don't want a low carbon footprint. I want a higher carbon footprint. Now, on that note, this story, speaking of people trying to save the planet, let's get away from the cult of climate change for a moment. Wyoming woman is to host a record-breaking event for world peace. Well, she hopes it will be anyway. A Wyoming woman is hoping to break a record at an event called the Grand Butterfly Gathering in Jackson Hole this summer. The goal is to bring together the largest amount of people ever dressed as butterflies to promote world peace. Downtown Jackson. So dress up as a butterfly. Bring your whole family dressed as butterflies. Participate. Now, I have nothing against world peace, but what do you think this will do to bring world peace? Anything? Yeah, I would have to say not a thing. A bunch of people dressed up as butterflies in downtown Jackson will do nothing to bring world peace. Not a thing. It makes the people doing it feel good, but it doesn't actually do anything. Now, I don't know what year it was, but some time ago, a bunch of people who were into meditation and new age things, decided to all get on the same altitudes. One of them was in Colorado, but all over the world. All these people had to climb up to the same altitude above sea level and then harmonize. And if they did that, their energy would bring about world peace. And I remember a reporter interviewing one, I'll just say it, hippie, who said, oh, you can feel it. You can feel the energy. You can feel. How's that working? How's that harmonizing for world peace working out? Okay, so a bunch of butterflies for world peace. This lady is an attorney and author and CEO and founder of a nonprofit called Trueness Project. Her bio says she's a Cuban immigrant who traveled the world, giving out books and speaking about the importance of teaching leadership in school. That's good. She believes that the mass gathering of people in vibrant butterfly costumes amidst a majestic mountain backdrop will create a spectacular fusing of nature's grandeur and the spirit of humanity. Okay. She said events like a Grand Butterfly Gathering exemplify the power of unity, fostering connections and community bonds that transcends boundaries. She wrote, in an increasingly fragmented world, moments of true unity become more and more precious, yet events rooted in togetherness, from local gatherings to global celebrations, bring power to weave connections across diversity. Really? The spotlight of our shared humanity despite sacrifice differences. In another blog post, she writes about the butterfly effect. Oh, that's where she gets this from. And how small acts of unity can create big changes. Now, I know most of you know this, but let's review what the butterfly effect is. The idea that a butterfly beating its wings, let's say in some small South American nation, can have a ripple effect that can affect things around the world. That little thing can ripple around the world and affect God knows what. That's what the butterfly effect is called. So that's where she gets the idea. And God bless the woman for wanting world peace and bringing the idea to Wyoming and all of that. But to be real about it, all it's going to do is make the people who are walking around in butterfly costumes feel good. But what will it actually do for world peace? You remember some years ago, I want to say it was back in the late 80s, but anyway, there was a young man who took a small airplane, really embarrassed the Russians, and he flew it all the way up to Moscow. I think he probably landed it in front of the Kremlin. And what really he flew at such low altitudes, it was a small plane, like a Cessna 150, small plane, little two-seater thing, top plane. And he was able to fly under Russian radar and defenses. And so the Russian military was really embarrassed. And he did this to promote world peace. And the question, I remember Rush Limbaugh was live and well and on the air at the time. And Limbaugh was asking the question, but what will it actually do for world peace? And when I mentioned this young man doing that, how many out there remember that? Some of you do, most of you don't. And the other event that I mentioned where everybody climbed up to the same altitude and sat down and meditated for world peace. Same altitude all over the world, meditating, to harmonize, to connect their energy. Any of you out there remember that? The vast majority of you don't. So what does that actually do for world peace? If you want to achieve world peace, you got to actually do something that works, and this doesn't. Sorry to say. Hate to be a downer, but go ahead, bring the event to Jackson Hole, Wyoming if you want. I'm just saying, in actuality, you haven't done it. You'll feel good. You'll have a great time, but it won't do anything. Coming up on 7:30, local news coming away right after local news. Update on your weather forecast. Then you and I get back into it again. 7:45, Don Day is here with his weather forecast for the week, which brings a lot of wet, which is good. But we do have some nice, sunny, warmer days with us, too. Let's wake up, Wyoming.
listeners may find disturbing. A sense of humor is advised. Chat with Glenn live on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
$7:36 the time to Wake Up Wyoming. Quick headline for you. Yale University forced to call in riot officers to regain control of a campus as anti-Israel mob rages. Okay, well, so some of the protests are getting out of control, and my question earlier this morning was just a real simple one. So let's not take sides on the argument at all right now. Just think about something different. With all the money that it costs it costs a lot of money to go to a university like Yale. As a parent, is this what you're paying for? Yeah, you either saved all that money or borrowed the money, whatever the case is, to send your kid to a very, very expensive, prestigious college to be radicalized or to go to class and actually learn something. Because my thought was college was about learning a profession. Pick a profession, go to college, they educate you toward that profession. Now you can be successful. But instead, there's all these protests going on because the kids are being radicalized, which is what they're paying for. Parents probably didn't know that, but that's what's happening. Meantime, if you go to some vocational school to learn plumbing, to be an electrician, something like that, a mechanic, go to one of those places and see how many protests are going on. And they're not. And that's because those young people paid their money to learn a specific trade, and that's what's happening. Their kids are not being radicalized. So, all right, that's going on today. For those who missed it earlier this morning, so it was on Friday, I believe, that I got word that Governor Mark Gordon would not be attending the Wyoming Republican Convention, which happened this past weekend. And I thought, well, what does he know? Well, maybe he knew that he was going to be censured, or at least it would be brought up. Or maybe that a lot of people there just don't like him. Whatever the case is, he didn't show up. And it's not that it's very far away. They had the convention at the Little America in Cheyenne, which is from the governor's mansion. I know that I've driven that route before. It takes just a few minutes. It's not far at all. Pop down the interstate, you drop off the ramp, there's Little America. There you go. But he didn't go. So there was a little while ago, the governor was given a vote of no confidence by the Republican Party. And that's after he went to Harvard University and talked about Wyoming going carbon negative. Not carbon neutral, but carbon negative. So he got a vote of no confidence from the Republican Party. This is a censure, which still is nothing more than a statement, okay? But basically between him vetoing a whole lot of things, including more gun-free zones on government buildings and several bills that had to do with tax relief for homeowners, property taxes. And there were a few other things like that the governor did. And so at the convention, they didn't even debate it. They just brought it up, and it was voted on, and there we go. So they don't have any confidence in the governor. And, of course, the governor responds to all of this in a written message, but maybe that's why Governor Gordon decided just not to go, because the Republican Party decided to go ahead and just put out notice, sorry, Governor, you're not really representing us right now. You're not really representing Wyoming beliefs. Now, the governor stands by his belief that, look, as governor, I can go ahead and veto laws that I think are bad laws. And I haven't defined why he might think a certain law is bad. Sometimes the idea of a law sounds really good. Then you read the bill, and it's a bad bill, and so it gets vetoed. Well, in this case, these bills had passed the House and Senate, which means it has to go through a bunch of people. Gets to the governor's desk, he certainly does have the power to do it. This is where there was even a call at one point. Do we have a special session to fix some of this? Well, it ends up we're not going to have a special session, so we're going to have to put up with these vetoes until the next legislative session. We're just going to have to, maybe in the next legislative session, these vetoes can be fixed, overridden, whatever the case is. But right now, no. So, okay, during the Republican convention, so there's been a vote of no confidence against the governor and a censure of the governor as well. All right, so now we got to see, does the governor from this point out in the next couple of legislative sessions, because I believe he has 2 more to go, I believe. And then that's the end of his term. I don't think he can run anymore in the state of Wyoming. So does that mean that basically he's a lame duck governor? Do we see that the Wyoming Republican Party make sure that he really can't get anything done in the next couple of years? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We got a couple of legislative sessions to go. The next one is going to be for passing laws. This past one was a budget session. 7:42, Don Day's got regional weather coming up. I'll have a conversation with him about that. Wake Up Wyoming.
This program is intended for immature audiences only. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and 24/7 on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
7:45 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Off we go to talk to Don Day about the weather forecast. Once again, compliments on an award-winning, glorious weekend.
Well, Sunday was certainly good, but
yes.
If you were in southeastern Wyoming Saturday, I got a lot of complaints.
Oh, you did?
So,
okay. Well, where
yes.
I was, it was just great. Anyway, but Sunday was good across the region. This morning, I want to protest the low clouds because I had plans after I got off the air, and it involved being higher off of the ground than I normally am. And we have a low cloud ceiling here.
Well, it's morning. There's a good chance that those will burn off.
Oh, good. I hope so. Okay. Now, we do start today, though, and tomorrow, where a bit warmer. I mean, not bad.
Not bad. We do have a little bit of a frontal system that's cutting across northeastern Wyoming this morning. That's the reason for your low clouds. We got a little bit of a push of some cooler air. And there were some showers up in the far northeast parts of the state last night in eastern Montana. All that system is really going to do is just send some slightly cooler air south into the area tonight and tomorrow, kick the wind up. It is going to get a little windy in spots today. So it's going to be a little unsettled. And tomorrow, we're probably going to be about 5 to 8 degrees cooler behind that front. But where we really see it getting spring-like and warmer is going to be Wednesday and Thursday. Temperatures are going to really warm up nicely. 60s and 70s in many areas. We have a strong southerly wind flow developing ahead of a Pacific storm that'll be right along the west coast. And what that will do, that southerly flow over time, it's going to moisten up the atmosphere, and some classic April showers and thunderstorms are going to develop mid to late week. The weekend looks wet. It looks cooler. So we're going to get some spring precipitation. This is the type of pattern we see coming up over the next 5 to 7 days and in the next week, which is good because it brings needed spring precipitation. And at least initially, Glenn, it should be all in the form of rain. Through the next 4 to 5 days, we'll have to kind of keep an eye on snow levels over the weekend, but we see moisture coming at the end of the week.
I did notice in your podcast for Cowboy State Daily, you said, well, we're not done with snow yet.
No. We should not expect to be done with snow. Could we be done with snow in some places? Sure. But if you were to ask me, are we done with snow for most areas of the state for the rest of the spring season? The answer is no. It's April 22nd. We still are really 3 weeks away to where you can really start to breathe easier. So we're not there yet.
Okay. Thank you, Don. Don Day with Dave with her. I wanted to get that part about the snow out of the way because, it could still pop up. It can still happen. In fact, Frank Gambino has predictions about that.
Yes, it'll be right around the state high school track meet, which will be, let's see here, March the 16th, May the 16th, 17th, and 18th,
Okay.
So that's the cutoff line right there.
Okay.
It has snowed.
Yeah, it has. Yeah.
That particular weekend. So.
I was just seeing if you were putting a specific date on the calendar. But
I'm going to go with the 16th. Okay. Just as a quick one.
Office pool here. So I decided to go on Sunday. I went out into Natrona County on Highway 26, right past the airport, and there's 33-mile road. And I'm going to take a guess that is probably around 34 miles long.
Yeah, and it's 33 miles outside of town.
Yes, right, or maybe 33 miles wide. I don't know.
Either way.
But anyway.
So what did you find on 33
So
miles?
as I headed up, I then get on Lone Bear Road, which made me think that at some point someone
had seen
a lone bear out there, right? And because it becomes, when you cross the county line into Johnson County, it becomes Triple T Road where the Triple T Ranch is.
Okay.
So you see a pattern here, right? Yeah, okay. While out there, and I have pictures on the Wake Up Wyoming site of some of these things, I've seen prairie dog towns and I've seen prairie dog cities. This was a metropolis.
Oh, really? They just overran the place?
Oh, my Lord, I've never seen. I mean, we drove many miles and just on it went. And not just along the sides of the road, but way out into the fields beyond, our vision.
You can find companies that will blast them out of helicopters.
Oh, my God, yeah. There used to be a guy in Colorado who had one of these old street sweepers. He converted into a machine that would suck them out of the ground. Really? Now, you could see that he had a camera in where they would land inside.
Yeah.
Unharmed. But looking around like, the hell? I was in my hole, minding my own business, and all of a sudden I just feel this sucking, and I wind up where? With all of these with my neighbors, basically.
In the bin.
Yes. What we found out, though, is, so a friend of mine trying to take pictures of them, he did get some pictures, and it's on the Wake Up Wyoming site this morning. But here's the deal. If you're going basically the speed limit down a gravel road, prairie dogs don't care. Slow down just a little bit, and the alarm goes out. If we came to a stop so he can get some pictures, the only ones visible were the ones that were standing there keeping an eye on us and yelling to their friends, stay down.
Oh, they're the sentries.
Yes, that's it. Other than that, slow down just a little bit and they all disappear. That has got to be, Frank, though, the biggest prairie dog metropolis I have ever seen in Wyoming.
Oh, my. Good luck with that one. High school soccer for the boys from over the weekend. First on Friday, Cheyenne Central over Thunder Basin 4-1. Sheridan and Laramie played to a 2-2 tie. Campbell County shut out Cheyenne South 5-0. On Saturday, Kelly Walsh crushed Riverton 7-0. Sheridan over South 5-1. Laramie blanked Campbell County 4-0. And Thunder Basin played Cheyenne East to a 4-4 tie. On the girls' side from Friday, Laramie over Sheridan 2-1. Campbell County beat South 6-1. Thunder Basin a win over Cheyenne Central 2-0. Then on Saturday, Riverton over Kelly Walsh 2-0. Cheyenne East and Thunder Basin played to a 1-1 tie. Campbell County over Laramie 2-0, and Sheridan beat Cheyenne South by the final score of 3-0. In the Stanley Cup playoffs in hockey, the Colorado Avalanche are down 1-0 in their series with Winnipeg after a 7-6 loss last night. The Avs just plain sloppy on defense, and how does a team score a half a dozen goals in a playoff game and manage to lose? Winnipeg's been on fire. They've won 9 in a row, and they've beaten the Avs 3 straight times. Game 2 of that series will be tomorrow. In the NBA playoffs, the Denver Nuggets will host the Los Angeles Lakers tonight in Game 2 of their Western Conference Series. The Nuggets won Game 1 handily as Nikola Jokic had 32 points for the Nuggets. Denver has beaten the Lakers 9 straight times. And also in the NBA playoffs, former Wyoming Cowboy Larry Nance Jr. is playing with the New Orleans Pelicans, and Nuo lost their first game of their series to Oklahoma City last night, 94-92. Nance had 8 points and 8 rebounds in 19 minutes of floor time. Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies split a doubleheader with Seattle yesterday. They won the first game 2-1 in 10 innings as Ryan McMahon drove in the game-winning run with a base hit in the bottom of the 10th. That broke a 6-game losing streak for the Rockies, but Colorado returned to earth in the second game of the twin bill, losing 10-2 as the Mariners scored 6 times in the second inning. The Rockies are 5-17. That is the worst record in the National League. The host San Diego tonight in Denver. Coming up on Saturday, the Wyoming Cowboy football team will have their spring game at Cheyenne East High School due to renovations at War Memorial Stadium in Laramie. That'll start at 1 p.m. on Saturday at Oakley Blanchard Stadium. That's it in sports.
Okay. So, there apparently are still teams that are worse than the Rockies?
Oh, yes. The Chicago White Sox are very, very bad. The Rockies have won 5 and the White Sox have won 3. How does this happen? I mean,
you sell a shirt that says we don't suck as much as
the Sox.
Yes,
and the Sox suck.
So you could make a lot of money at this, Frank. Just go there.
Somebody's doing it now, I'm sure.
Are they? Yeah.
With shirts like the Sox suck.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the Sox smell.
They do too.
They
yeah.
do. Okay,
yeah.
You could go ahead and do that. You can't say the Rockies rock right about now.
No.
Although we can say we want to stone them, but that's a whole different.
The Rockies could just kick rocks.
Okay, well, there you go. That's much better. Yeah. There's your T-shirt, Frank Rosell. Yeah. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. Morning, Norman. He's over in 10 Sleep. If you stay on 33 Mile Road, you can come out on Highway 16 East Powder River. Yes, I have driven the whole thing. Believe it or not, Norman, I've actually driven the whole thing. What an adventure that was. This time I decided to go over toward KC to see what that looked like. Man, I have never seen so many prairie dogs in my life. It might just be one of the biggest prairie dog metropolises in Wyoming. So wake up, Wyoming. Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Monday. It's Earth Day, just in case you didn't know. I'll get into that a little bit more this morning. And probably the creepiest morning sponsorship we've ever had.
Today's show is sponsored by Horseshoe Doorstops, made from real horses.
See, I don't even get it.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
One last final thought on something I was talking about last hour. There's going to be an event this summer in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where a woman is putting together a butterfly event, and she wants people from all over the world to show up dressed up as butterflies. Doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter where you're from. Dress up as a butterfly, and she's doing that for world peace. All right, well, I said quite a bit about why that's not going to do anything last hour. One final thought. There's a lot of evil in the history of the world. Look at Adolf Hitler. Take a look at the old Soviet Union. What Cuba does to its own people. Venezuela, what it does to its people. Go to North Korea if you want to see horrors, literal torture chambers and starvation and so on. That's what evil looks like. And a bunch of people dressing up like butterflies in Jackson Hole isn't going to do anything. If you want to fight for world peace, I'm with you, but you're going to have to come up with a better idea than that. All right, off to something different. This will make you feel a little bit better. There is a shop out there. So let's say you're going to go buy a gun. So while you're buying a gun, you can pet a cow. I don't know. That's what it says here. I'm just reading it to you. Don't look at your radio that way. So it's a picture of a guy sitting there with a baby calf next to him. The owner of A&G Shooting in Fairfield hired an, oh God, don't do this, utterly cute shop cow last Tuesday. Really? He's the ambassador of goodwill, I guess, he said. I don't plan on having a cow, but we have a cow. I didn't plan on it, but we have a cow. So what do you do with a cow? Well, you treat it like a dog and you bring it to work, I guess. Does it fetch your slippers? I was going to say fetch your newspaper, but today to fetch your newspaper would have to go get your cell phone. And you don't want your cell phone in your dog's mouth. Anyway, where else in the world can folks go get a gun, right, with all of the different amenities? I mean, tripods, and unless you were thinking pistol, but all right. And while you're there, go ahead and pet a cow at the same time. Now, there's a video that goes with this. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can play it. Here we go.
Here's something to smile about. One business in Fairfield is taking a new approach to hiring staff. And let's just say they're turning to our furry companions for help. Logan Hoffman and photojournalist Mark Redeker introduces us to Cade.
Sometimes when you walk into a business, there may be a store cat or dog. But what about a cow?
You want to chew on the beard?
Adam Hensby is the owner of A&G Shooting in Fairfield. He hired an utterly cute shop cow last Tuesday.
Oh, God.
He's the ambassador of goodwill around here, I guess. Didn't plan on having a cow, but now we have a cow. So what do you do with a cow? You treat it like a dog and you bring it to work.
1 week on the job today. It's time for performance review.
Oh, excellent. Top notch.
And he's already gained quite the following.
Okay, so you get the idea, right? Now, this is a little baby calf at this point. My question is, what do you do when this thing grows up? It's going to grow up. It's going to be a full-size cow. And every so often, I don't know, you people who raise cattle, you tell me, can you housebreak those things? Okay, because the bigger it gets, the bigger it plops. You know what I'm saying? Right, okay. And at some point, you're not going to be able to keep that inside the shop anymore. All right. What happens when the thing gets old enough and starts looking, tasty? Yeah. PETA is not going to like this. It's already a gun store, so PETA doesn't like it already. But PETA is really not going to like this. I had something on PETA yesterday, Saturday. Let me see real quick if I can. I'm probably not going to be able to find it on time. But it had to do with, there's people from PETA, here it is, that were going into grocery stores and putting stickers on the steak and the hamburger meat. This cow was named, here's someone who responds to it.
So I just went to the grocery store was going through the meat section, and apparently some of them PETA just came through and put stickers on the meat packages that had the name of the cow and said, this is what my name used to be. Well, I'll still call you by that name. I don't really care, Millie, or whatever your name was, because I plan on eating you and your whole family. So you tell Betsy and Blue I'm coming for their asses, too. They put the wrong sticker on this cow. They should have named her Delicious.
Yes, okay. So at some point, PETA's going to get really upset with this, too. Probably going to be the case. All right. So there's the cow story for you. Now, there are a couple of things going on today. Well, several things. One, and it's all hitting on the same day. Today, of course, is Passover, the beginning of Passover for those of the Jewish faith, which is why there's a lot of pro-Palestinian protests going on at different college universities right now because those kids have been indoctrinated. Today is Earth Day, and if you missed it earlier in the program, there is now an Earth Day countdown clock. In other words, an end-of-the-world countdown clock from the cult of climate change, which I will be tracking, and they give us a little over 7 years. Right down to the second. Okay, but that's Earth Day for you. And, of course, the cult of climate change and the hypocrisy is what I started the program with, all at the same time. Then I did mention earlier this morning, I see there's one more event that was going on. So Earth Day, and then it was there's one more that I forgot. But, okay. And then I mentioned Governor Mark Gordon had been censured, and DJ in Gillette, because I said the governor did not go to the convention, the Wyoming Republican Convention, and was censured. DJ in Gillette writes, Governor Gordon was up here in Gillette for a fundraiser, Council of Community Service. Was a surprise. Eric Barlow is a big supporter of this great local cause. So the governor was in Gillette during the course of the weekend. But I bet you that thing did not go on all weekend long, and he could have spent a little bit of time at the convention, but he probably knew he was being censored. All right. Red in Casper says, shop barbecue. Bert, several people have suggested me for the butterfly thing for peace that's going to happen this summer in Jackson Hole. If we all showed up dressed in 1920s garb with the old pit helmet and big butterfly nets and went around chasing these people, maybe then the event would actually be worthwhile.
Hello and welcome to the Mental Health Hotline. If you are obsessive compulsive, press 1 repeatedly. If you are codependent, ask someone to press 2 for you. If you have multiple personalities, press 3, 4, 5, 6. If you are paranoid, we know what you are and what you want.
Well, that image is going to stick with you all day. Wake Up Wyoming goes anywhere you do with the Wake Up Wyoming app. Free download for Apple and Android. This is K2 Radio.
8:19 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Wood. So, real quick, Wiley is chipping in. Crispy Critters by C.W. McCall. Is that about the little baby cat that's running around the gun store? Okay, well. Again, they're fine with that until it gets bigger. And the bigger that thing gets, the more of a cow it becomes. When it decides to go ahead and just plop on the floor, the bigger the plops get. You know, I'm going with that. Okay. And it doesn't smell all that good when it decides it has to pee either. I'm just tossing it out there. All right. Hey, Chugwater, you're up. Chugwater, Wyoming, one of my favorite little towns in Wyoming. However, they've been having a little bit of a problem with their city council. There's been some arguments down there with the city council. So now, from the Cowboy State Daily, Chugwater could get smaller with landowners trying to de-annex themselves. Okay. Story says, I was discussing this earlier this weekend. What's the population of Chugwater, Wyoming? Population 174. Might soon get a lot smaller, with 3 landowners filing a petition to de-annex from the city and taking 172 acres out of the city between them. The petition to de-annex filed with Platte County zoning shows 3 landowners one who targets the largest parcel of the proposed de-annexation. He told Cowboy State Daily that the main reason for the petition is that he and his neighbors don't get any town water or any of the sewer services. And if he's not going to get those, well, then why does he fall under city ordinances? Well, that's a good idea. I mean, that is a good question. If you're paying for city services, but you're not getting city services, why am I paying for the city services? All right. Quote, you have to go to the state's office and get permission to drill a well. Then you have to go to the county to get permission to install a septic system. So there's really no reason to be within the city limits. Miller added that it's not really about being required to pay city taxes for services he doesn't receive. He says it's more of a matter of not having to be under another set of ordinances and obligations. He said, if you're going to get these other agencies to get licenses and things like that, there's no reason to stay in the city. The only thing the city has is a building permit, and if they can't provide services, why would they have the authority to issue a building permit? These are some pretty good questions here. So he told Cowboy State Daily the property he wants to de-annex is about 120 acres, along with two other properties petitioned for de-annexation. The area comprises the entire middle northwest corner of the present town. Now, realize, since I go to Chugwater from time to time, in fact, I'll probably stop by on my way down this weekend. Well, it's a Thankful Thursday. I'm in Cheyenne for Thankful Thursday, and I'll be in Cheyenne also Friday and Saturday. And I usually stop by Chugwater, and I pick up a burger. I say hi to my friends at the local mercantile that's there, which, by the way, they carry my books if you ever want to pick one up. So all of that is a really small town that you can walk from one end to the next in a very short period of time. Quote, it's all on the opposite side of the interstate, which makes sense, he said. It's all used for agricultural purposes with 3 houses. It's all agriculture. It's not planted. It's not even zoned, really. So then again, what would be the impact to the town? This is what I want to know. Is there any? So he told Cowboy State Daily he doesn't see any reason for the city to oppose a petition to de-annex. However, at least one resident does have some questions about it. Like, what if the effect will be on the town's property tax revenue, and what percentage of the developable, I have to say this, okay, this is not going to be easy, developable, land you can develop, will be leaving the community. So, quote, I have to do it again. It's in here twice. Developable. One parcel of land you can develop is already significantly less because the interstate cuts right through the town. So when they put the interstate in, they really did cut the town in half. Chugwater residents and business owner Josh Hopkins, hello Josh, if you're listening, told Cowboy State Daily then up in the northeast side of town, there's a whole section of state land that can't be used in any way for private development, and that there's kind of a patchwork out there. Now, see, I'm reading this in part to you guys because if you're wondering, why in the world? Well, because this is actually pretty typical of a lot of other towns around Wyoming, which are very small, and yet they're towns and they're incorporated. And a lot of times a town will reach out. For those listening up in Gillette, remember Sleepy Hollow? Sleepy Hollow is a community that is outside of Gillette. Somebody took some land outside of Gillette, but close enough so it's a bedroom community, and just developed it, made a neighborhood out of it. It's a pretty good-sized neighborhood. It's got a lot of people living there. On several occasions, the city of Gillette tried to incorporate Sleepy Hollow. And the people of Sleepy Hollow kept saying, no, we're outside of the city for a reason. We're a neighborhood, but we're outside of the city. We don't want to be annexed. At one point, Sleepy Hollow was considering making itself a town unto itself, so it couldn't be annexed. They thought that was one possible strategy. Last I heard, Sleepy Hollow never became part of the city. But, okay. I'm going to add up all of the actual acreage and all of the, don't do this to me again, all of the developable properties. I don't know why I'm having a tough time with that today. In town to get a real ratio, but as far as the whole area of the town is 3 square miles. The land proposed for de-annexation is something like 0.88% of the land. I'm curious about something. Let's see. How big is, let's see, I'm going to see how many miles. Hang on while I type this. Okay, so I'm asking how many big, okay, this answers the question. I'm taking a look at how many people per square mile. All right, so there's some other communities, like if you go to Manhattan is 13.4 square miles, and yet there's millions of people living there. Chugwater, you're talking to Wyoming town. So anyway, Hopkins says he expects some details he's looking to be part of the, de-annexation study that requires part of the process before the Platte County commissioners, before they can make a decision on this. If commissioners approve the petition, it would head back to Chugwater for consideration by town officials. So, quote, there's essentially a 60-day period in which no action can be taken by the town, Hopkins told Cowboy State Daily. So that's probably supposed to provide enough time for a proper study of what else can be done. Although I do understand if somebody's on the other side of the interstate and they really don't get anything out of being part of the city, then just de-annex. If you want to have some fun, if you want a good laugh at stuff like this, take a look at some cities. They don't have to be big towns, you know. And they want to annex something like there's an industrial park or there's an airport or something like that. Look at the lengths that they go through to draw lines to incorporate something that's way out there. It's really funny sometimes. The length, when you see what's the city limit of such and such a town, and look at how they draw the lines around the city to say this is within the city limits. Sometimes those lines are drawn in the weirdest possible way to incorporate something into the city that sits just outside of it. All right, coming up on some local news that we got to take care of. After local news update on the weather forecast, you and I get back into it again. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. Wake up, Wyoming.
Something to say to Glenn? Use the chat on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app and get your opinions straight to the studio with K2 Radio.
Time is 8:36. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Like I said, several events going on today all at once. It's kind of a unique Monday here, and that includes Earth Day.
I admit I have not been recycling.
I have.
In fact, I have been openly encouraging people to be wasteful.
Yeah, I have.
I often go to other people's recycling bins and throw them into the regular trash.
I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to.
30 stretch limousine Hummers.
Nice.
And I keep them all running even when I am sleeping.
Good for the plan.
And I always dump my unused paint directly into the ocean.
Why the hell not?
I am truly sorry. I thought carpools were for seas, and sustainable energy was for ducks. Organic farmers can eat my synthetic panties, and seals can go straight to hell. Now, as for an inconvenient truth, I thought that was a veritable movie suck fest. I think a much more representative look at our planet can be seen in the John Travolta masterpiece, Battlefield Earth, you're a wonderful...
Okay, so that's Earth Day for you, which is a day pretty much I think everybody's forgotten because it is not taking precedence in the news. Now, we're supposed to be reaching the end times and all of that kind of stuff here. It's not taking precedence in the news. You would think if we only have a few years left until we reach the tipping point, I mean, come on. No, that's not what the headlines are. Sorry. See, I came up with a story a little while ago. Here it is. The hypocrisy of Earth Day. And this just has to do with And there's many stories out there, but you got to dig for them. If I tried to, and I did try this just out of curiosity, I tried to Google topics like this, and I couldn't get any. But if I went to other search engines and looked for topics like this, I could find them. So, okay, the hypocrisy of Earth Day, the story says. We are approaching Earth Day. Well, it's today. The international celebration which progressive politicians and celebrities exempt themselves from the green legislation they helped create. The celebration of the astounding ability of people to ignore laws of economics, physics, and common sense in an effort to pretend their carbon footprint is dainty. But it's not. And again, I'll always say it, CO2 is not a pollutant. We need it, but okay. Many participants are invited to expend organic fuels, coal, gas, oil, and widen their environmental impact by traveling to attend rallies or other demonstrations to demonstrate their massive greenness. Close to home, enthusiasts can proclaim their commitment to Gaia, the earth god, by coloring their websites or painting their storefronts green. And you're supposed to know what that means. They'll sell products and T-shirts and take donations for everything from planting trees to brainwashing children. Retailers will try to convince you that everything that they have is, to use their words, sustainable. All this hysteria, the author says, underscores what is possibly the biggest pet peeve of mine. She writes, hypocrisy, which is why those who push the hardest to save the planet do the least to change their own personal behavior, which is why I asked earlier today, and I would really like to know from them, if our governor wants to go not just net zero, but below that, negative, then why does he ride around in a SUV? Why does he take the corporate jet? In fact, why does he even allow, Wyoming has 2 corporate jets and a couple of other planes. Why does he even allow them to be used at all? So another cause, she writes, consumes the save the planet elites more than their fuel consumption. And they literally fly their private jets all over the planet to lecture you about flying and driving and so on. This kind of behavior, she says, makes me gnash my teeth. In a piece called Climate Cultists Will Do Anything to Save the Planet Except Stay Home, that's a good title. Hang on. Climate Cultists Will Do Anything to Save the Planet Except Stay Home. Daniel Turner writes, last November, 80,000 people gathered at what they called the Anti-Fossil Fuel UN Climate Conference, COP28 in Dubai. The 28th of these conferences, which grows in size and scope every single year. That's, airfare, hotels, cars, dining, all to reduce carbon footprints. Now, if they really cared, then why wouldn't they just do this from home? Why wouldn't they just teleconference in? Use the internet. That's what Al Gore created it for, right? 2 weeks worth of meetings, not a single panel, to admit the hypocrisy of everybody who showed up. So there are dozens, if not hundreds, of global climate conferences all around the world going on all the time. And you can guarantee these are all the anti-organic fuel elite. They will attend as many as possible. If you make a career going to these conferences, you're trying to ban all organic fuels, coal, gas, and oil. They never have more than a couple of weeks away from the next party list. Remember what John Kerry famously says. He needs money to stop climate change. So can you doubt their goals? And who can forget Bill Gates saying it's okay for him to use private jets because he's the solution to climate change? This reminds me, oftentimes when I call it the cult of climate change, when you take a look at televangelists, you know the kind that I'm talking about. And I've always wondered how much hairspray they use. But anyway, televangelists are always saying that they need to have their private jets, and they fly all over the place because they're trying to save the world. In order for them to save the world, they have to have a big house and a private jet. And it's the same thing for the cult of climate change and their high priests. Story says one person pointed out the obvious. The elite don't believe the snake oil they are peddling and only give a damn about themselves and increasing their wealth. So it's not that green hypocrisy is anything new, she writes. I mean, it's just that Earth Day is so glaringly obvious. It's no accident. Green activists are called watermelons. You've heard this. Green on the outside, red on the middle. In other words, communist in the middle. So Earth Day has become a cynical, bloated, empty gesture, 24-hour orgy of self-righteousness and smugness. And people who are participating in Earth Day, if you look at most of them, they're not even trying to live the life that they insist the rest of us live. She writes, green living and the green agenda are two entirely different things. Green living is sensible, frugal, and admirable personal choice. The green agenda, that's something entirely. Now, for those people who say they want to live more of a green life, they just use less material. They might garden at home. They just have less of a footprint on the planet. They don't throw away a lot of garbage. I mean, stuff like that, you know. That's someone who's just trying to be clean and green, which I actually admire that when someone does that. But some of the worst polluters on the planet are those people who, as is said here, have that smugness of, I am better than the rest of you because I say that I care about the planet. And I say that I care about the planet less than you do. Therefore, I care more. Therefore, I'm better than you. That's really what it seems to me this is about. Because to me, as far as I'm concerned, they can't believe anything that they say. There's no way they can believe anything that they say if they don't actually live it.
Hi, guys. I just wanted to remind everyone that minding your own business is free. However, if you'd like to mind my business, that will be upwards of $500 an hour. I do accept Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal. So hit me up, because some of you owe me a lot of money.
Admit it, you were hoping somebody would say that. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join the conversation at 888-97-WOODS.
8:48's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox where Frank Gambino is waiting by. Okay, Frank, it's already begun.
Yes.
Tourists drive past a road closed sign on the way to Yellowstone, get stuck in the snow for 6 hours.
Yeah, you know, GPS can lead you in the wrong way sometimes.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So,
but you could be out there for a while.
Yeah. Now, here's a couple of problems. First off, they say they didn't see the signs.
It could have been covered in snow.
Well, but usually a road closed sign also comes with barriers. Now, I think part of the problem is they rented one of these big four-door Jeeps, which gives the people the idea that they can go anywhere.
They're not, you're not invincible. No.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah. So that would be, I think, the next problem. First off, pay attention to the signs. 2, don't trust your GPS. Next, if it looks like, wow, that's a lot of snow, don't.
Because it is a lot of snow.
It really is, yeah. So the next problem they have is they would like to get out of this situation, but they're in a part of Yellowstone where they can't get cell service.
Right.
Yeah, so eventually they were able to get to somewhere walking until they found some cell service and were able to get some help. But again, they're out there for 6 hours. So here we go. We're officially now arriving in tourist season, Frank.
Well, no. That's a winter thing. You got to wait for the summer thing.
Yeah.
You would love this one. There's a rodeo in Gallup, New Mexico.
Yeah.
And instead of riding bulls, they ride buffalo.
Nice. How does that work?
Pretty good. It's exciting.
Okay.
You know, so there are some people who can deal with.
Yes. And then there's other people who just can't.
Right.
Okay.
And those are the ones that will be coming to us in this next summer season.
Yeah.
You know?
I would like to see if people are going to do the touristing in Wyoming, can we stop them somewhere and have them go through a quickie little course?
No, you're on your own.
No, really?
Because if you're going to educate these folks, what are you going to talk about for the rest of the summer?
No. Oh, I see. I need the show prep.
Right.
Point made.
So,
I get you.
There
Okay.
you go. All right, the Stanley Cup playoffs in hockey moving along. The Colorado Avalanche are down 1-0 in their series with Winnipeg after a 7-6 loss last night. Avs just sloppy on defense. And how does a team that scores 6 goals in a playoff game manage to lose? Figure that one out. Winnipeg has been on fire. They've won 9 in a row. They've beaten the Avs 3 straight times. Game 2 of that series will be tomorrow. In the NBA playoffs, the Denver Nuggets will host the Los Angeles Lakers tonight in Game 2 of their Western Conference series. The Nuggets won game handily as Nikola Jokic had 32 points for the Nuggets, and Denver has beaten the Lakers 9 straight times. Also in the NBA playoffs, former Wyoming Cowboy Larry Nance Jr. playing for the New Orleans Pelicans, and Nuo lost their first game of their first series to Oklahoma City last night, 94-92. Nance had 8 points and 8 rebounds in 19 minutes of floor time. Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies split a doubleheader with Seattle. They won the first game 2-1 in 10 innings as Ryan McMahon drove in the game-winning run with a base hit in the 10th. That broke a 6-game losing streak for the Rockies. However, Colorado returned to earth in the second game of the doubleheader, losing 10-2 as the Mariners scored 6 times in the second inning. Rockies at 5-17. Obviously, they're awful. And they have the worst record in the National League. They will host the San Diego Padres tonight in Denver. Coming up on Saturday, the Wyoming Cowboy football team will have their spring game at Cheyenne East High School due to renovations at War Memorial Stadium in Laramie. It'll start at 1 p.m. on Saturday at Okie Blanchard Stadium. In girls high school soccer from Friday, Laramie over Sheridan 2-1. Campbell County beats South 6-1. Thunder Basin over Cheyenne Central 2-0. And on Saturday, Riverton over Kelly Walsh 2-0. The Cheyenne East and Thunder Basin played to a 1-1 tie, and Campbell County defeated Laramie 2-0. Sheridan beat South 3-0. On the boys' side from Friday, Cheyenne Central beat Thunder Basin 4-1. Sheridan and Laramie played to a 2-2 tie. Campbell County shut out Cheyenne South 5-0. On Saturday, Kelly Walsh crushed Riverton 7-0. Sheridan over South 5-1. Laramie blanked Campbell County 4-0. And Thunder Basin played Cheyenne East to a 4-4 tie. And that's it in sports.
Boy, there's a lot going on.
It's busy. As long as you get a little bit of a break in the weather, where you're not completely dumped down by snow. We got probably one more of those, but you got to keep going on the high school side.
Yeah.
You just got to keep, because every time that you miss an event for weather or whatever, there's no really room on the calendar to make that up.
Right.
So you lose. It's a lost event.
Just running out of time. So what do you do with your scores and all of that if we lost this event and that event?
Well, it just wasn't held. I mean, so you're asking all these kids to say, all right, you commit to a certain amount of games and stuff like that and all the effort that goes into it, and they're sitting on the bus going, it's snowing.
Okay.
And we're not going to be able to
doing
play.
This. Yeah. But we're going to take the bus ride anyway.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Because by gosh, we're committed.
Well, of course, yeah.
All right, thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business. Oh, and I have other topics, but there's still this yet another new deadline before the planet is done. I just came up with another one. Hang on. I'll get it to you. We got news time coming up. And update on your weather forecast. Wake up, Wyoming. 9:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. It's a Monday. It's Passover. It's Earth Day. I think there's a few other things going on. Oh, and probably the creepiest sponsor to the show ever.
Today's show is sponsored by Horseshoe Doorstops.
Really?
Made from real horses.
See, that's weird.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilet, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave. Just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
So I have to update a story that I was doing earlier this morning, and it had to do with a countdown clock. Now, the countdown clock, there's other ones that I do, like the debt clock and so on. All the clocks pretty much sound the same, but this is the latest from the cult of climate change on Earth Day. Your countdown clock is, once again, they're putting a date out there, and if they do something like that, I don't think they understand. We watch those dates, and personally, I celebrate them when we cross over that date and not a damn thing happened.
I admit I have not been recycling. In fact, I have been openly encouraging people to be wasteful. I often go to other people's recycling bins and throw them into the regular trash. I own 30 stretch limousine Hummers, and I keep them all running even when I am sleeping. And I always dump my unused paint directly into the ocean. I am truly sorry. I thought carpools were for these, and sustainable energy was for ducks. Organic farmers can eat my synthetic panties. Seals can go straight to hell. Now, as for an inconvenient truth, I thought that was a veritable movie suckfest. I think a much more representative look at our planet can be seen in the John Travolta masterpiece, Battlefield Earth, Battlefield Earth.
So, okay, let's take a look at the latest from that climate clock countdown. And I did give you a website that has a climate clock. For those who missed it, I'll get back to that real quick. But okay, here's the story. The author says, I'm mildly surprised that they didn't say that we had to November 5th, 2024 to save the world. That is, after all, what it really means. The climate change ideology, he says, has everything to do with controlling money and power and very little to do with saving the planet. But now, John Steele, I think it's how you pronounce his name, currently United Nations Executive Climate Secretary, has yet another dire warning that the planet is burning. I don't know if you noticed this. The planet is burning out there, and all life on Earth is about to evaporate. And that cows are farting and belching too much for the apocalypse and so on. So the world will end April 9th, 2026, according to the UN climate chief. Now, I want to know, that world will end? Because sometimes people get this wrong. Or is that where we reach the tipping point, and after that we can't save it? All right. Who exactly has 2 years left to save? See, I would say at this point you have 2 years left. If I were you, I'd go live it up. I mean, honestly, you just got 2 years? All right, so from AP News, so you know, this is I'm going to have to edit because it's AP News. It's not reliable. Humanity has 2 years left to save the world by making dramatic changes in the way it spews heat-trapping emissions, and even less time to act to get the finances behind such a massive shift right. So says the head of the United Nations Climate Agency. With the governments of the world facing a 2025 deadline for a new and stronger plan to curb, here we go, carbon pollutants. See, there's the big mistake. It's not a pollutant. Nearly half the world's populations voting in elections and so on this year, and critical global finance meetings later this month in Washington, United Nations, the executive climate secretary said Wednesday he knows his warning may sound melodramatic. Well, it's not just that, Mr. Secretary. We've heard this before. But he said action over the next 2 years is essential. And here's a quote. We still have a chance to make greenhouse gas emissions tumble with a new generation of national climate plans, but we need stronger plans now. This was a speech he was giving in London. He suggests that climate action is not just for powerful people to address, but you see, you too out there at the same time must address this. Vladimir Putin and Chinese chairman there, may be interested in influence on elections, but at least they have common courtesy not to be so blatant about it, says the author of this article here. So, okay, you get the idea. Oh, and let me call this up again. For those who missed it earlier this morning, there's another clock. This guy's given 2 years. At the same time, I just added the climate clock. And then I got to go back and take a look at the extinction clock. Okay, here we go. According to the climate clock, and I was reading it earlier this morning, and I don't understand the dates, because earlier this morning they were saying 7 years. This one says 5 years. But it's the same website. So I don't know why the clock has changed. But okay. They're very specific about this. 5 years, 91 days, 46 minutes and 50 seconds. And if we pass that point, it's not that the earth blows up. We reach a point where we can't bring it back. That's it. It's over. We've reached the tipping point. Okay. So let's go to... Well, no, I really wonder about this because their website has two different clocks going. So I'd have to go look up to see what exactly... All right, so there's another one that I have here, and this is called Extinction Clock. And I want to know, have these clocks been added to Extinction Clock yet? Because Extinction Clock is this really fun website that I love going to that will give countdowns that have happened, and we've passed them. Like when Al Gore said we had 10 years back in 2009. Well, that means 2019 was the deadline. We're at 2024, right? So here is 1, 2 years, 10 years before climate change extinction. No, okay, we have 2 years left on that one. Here's 3 years. Oh, here we go. We must achieve zero emissions in 8 years according to climate clock. Yeah, but their clock says, I don't understand, it says 5 years. Let me see. Climate... And this, again, Extinction Clock gives us about 3 years. Now, here's another one with 4 years. Okay, so Extinction Clock is really fun for a dork like me that likes to look at stuff like this. And once again, I don't understand why the numbers are not all the same. If the science is settled and the debate is over, then why is everybody giving out different times and dates on when this is supposed to happen?
Woke Radio, WOK! Time to get up, everybody, and go to work. You know you don't have anywhere to go, so let's play some soft, easy favorites that'll help you sleep in until noon.
Honestly, he's just happy to be here. Catch Glenn Woods on Wake Up Wyoming, weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
Time is 9:21. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Let's go down to Denver for this next one. Hey, Colorado, you're up. So, as I've said many times before, be careful when you announce something. You might just get what you wish for. Denver was one of those places that said, we are a sanctuary city. Well, okay. And then they passed a bunch of laws to make themselves really officially, not just saying it, we have laws to make ourselves a sanctuary city. All right. But now they have to do it. And as soon as they get into actually having to be a sanctuary city, they realize the problems. So be careful whenever you announce we are whatever. Look for those unintended consequences. And you were warned about the unintended consequences. Story here says, since the beginning of the Biden administration, the border crisis, the city of Denver, Colorado, has been inundated with more than 40,000 illegal immigrants. Now, you think about that for us all here in Wyoming. 40,000, most of our towns are not even that big. Well, okay. That's largely the city's own fault because they hung out the welcome mat, the story says, by declaring themselves to be a sanctuary city. But now the financial drain on the city's coffers has become too great, and the mayor is looking to make some changes. Some of the illegal immigrants eventually moved on, but there's still about 10,000 of them living in shelters in the Mile High City. Mayor Mike Johnson wants to adjust the asylum seekers program. By the way, some of them moving on. In many cases, Denver just took those people and shipped them to other cities to make them somebody else's problem. So, okay, he's offering limited food and shelter for 6 months. But the illegal immigrants have some activists working for them. 6 months, that's insufficient. Why, you can't do that. A housing advocacy group is slamming Denver's new asylum seeker program as insufficient and a slap in the face, even staging a protest to voice their disapproval as the city spends tens of millions of dollars on aid and slashes its emergency service budget to stave off insolvency. What that means is the city is literally going broke over this. The surge of new arrivals, the story says, has thrown the mile-high city's budget into a tailspin, with more than 40,000 have found their way to Denver since December 2022, more per capita than most other cities in the U.S. A total cost of around $68 million has been spent on them. Of those funds, approximately $35 million was spent between December of 2023 and March alone, according to the mayor's office. So, this author here I'm reading from says the nerve of some people is simply off the charts. The taxpayers of Denver, and for that matter, the taxpayers of just Colorado in general, have already shelled out outrageous amounts of money to care for these folks. The Denver Police Department, Fire Department, have taken a total of combined $10.9 million in cuts to help pay for all of this. So again, financially, this is the city imploding, right? One of the major complaints about the new asylum seekers program is that the illegal immigrants are previously allowed to stay in the city's intake shelter for up to 6 weeks. Now, they'll be told to relocate after 24 to 72 hours, moving to some other site. What would that be? While most are being encouraged to move on to other destinations, in other words, leave the state, go somewhere else. And that's a big part of it. Again, that for all the screaming that you heard from sanctuary cities and sanctuary states, well, Texas and Florida, they're shipping their illegals to us. And that's using them as political pawns. Yeah, but when you get them, you just ship them somewhere else too. So? Sorry, it says, just a reminder, we're not talking about people who immigrated from their countries of origin legally and came to America. These are people who crossed borders illegally and then fundamentally, fraudulently, filed asylum claims. They shouldn't be entitled to any sort of public welfare, he says. If they want free lodging, they should be in a detention center while awaiting deportation. Okay. This has long since passed the point of frustrating, he says. So I still look down to Colorado in general, and there are a few smaller, not Denver size, but smaller sanctuary cities down there who have decided to no longer call themselves sanctuary cities. They tapped out because they ran through all of their resources and they said, we're not doing this. And then there were a few other places that never were sanctuary cities, but they made sure to declare themselves, and we're not going to be. So there are some places that just said, no, we're just not doing it. Now, on that note, let's talk real quick about something that's going to affect even up here in Wyoming, and it's not illegal immigration. I covered a story last year at some point. Well, it was during the summertime, I know, that there were some people in some cities in Wyoming, like Cheyenne and like Casper, to name a couple, that were just camping, as it was called. These are homeless people. And they would show up and just set up, like if you're in Denver, remember in Denver, there's people who have set up a whole community right on the sidewalks. They just throw a tent up and they move in, all the comforts of home. They'll go looking for chairs and couches and anything they can. They just move in. And so to pick on Casper, they didn't want people to, and this, I'll put this in quotes, camp in town. So they passed, or tried passing, and tried to figure out how to do this, some city ordinances. Now, Florida, Governor DeSantis just was flat out about it. Don't think you're going to go into any town, anywhere, and just start setting up tents and just camp. You can't do that here. Go somewhere else. And when people ask, well, where do we go? I don't know, just not here. You can't be here. Well, that is literally what's in front of the Supreme Court today. The U.S. Supreme Court is hearing a case about this, What happens when homeless people show up in your community and they move into wherever, a park, the downtown area, an empty lot, whatever the case might be, and they just start setting up camp? So you would like to have them move along, but they will argue, but we have nowhere to go. And like Governor DeSantis said, well, not my problem. You just can't be here. Figure something else out. That's what's in front of the Supreme Court right now. So for places around Wyoming and around the country that are trying to solve this problem on what to do with the homeless population, that we'll see what they're hearing oral arguments today. I don't expect this to be done anytime soon. We see Dan and Cheyenne. Only 10,000 in Denver. Texas needs to send them like 500,000 more. Smokey and Casper, by the time all of mankind disappears from the earth tomorrow, the earth will continue on. Time is infinite. Yeah. Coming up on some local business news time right after local news update on the weather forecast, and you and I get back into it. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
4. If it's happening in Wyoming, it's on Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods from K2 Radio. Join the conversation at 888-97-WOODS.
.36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So, another update for you. I'm watching on the ridiculously large television they put in the studio with me. They keep going to different protests at different universities. Yale is a big one, but different protests around the country at different universities. And at a couple of them, they've had to bring the police in. And these are, of course, anti-Israel, free Hamas kind of protests. A few of them getting out of hand. Some of them, they're just protesting. Others are kind of getting out of hand. What I haven't seen yet, and I was asking this earlier this morning, where are the protests at all the vocational schools, all the technical schools? When kids want to learn how to be a welder, a plumber, an electrician, a mechanic, things like that. I have yet to see any of those technical schools where a bunch of kids have skipped class and are outside protesting, and the cops have to be called because they're getting out of hand. That hadn't happened yet. Now, this once again says what I've been saying all morning long on this. And I've probably been saying for over a year now. When you send your kid to school, to a college, whether it's a local community college or someplace really big like Yale, someplace really expensive, what are you paying for? If you see your kid out in front of the college protesting something, whether you agree with what your kid is protesting or not, whatever, you see your kid out front protesting something. Okay. Are you paying for that? Now, some kids actually depends on what college they're at, some kids actually get credit for protesting. They get classroom credit for protesting. Is that what you paid for? All right. Now, once again, the kids who decided to go to a vocational school and learn a trade, if some young man says, I want to be a welder, some young lady says, I want to be a mechanic. Okay. Now, they'll spend a lot less money there than they would at any university, but they're going to make a good income. They're going to make really good money doing these things. Usually, school does not take as long as a 4 or 6 year degree. Some people go to school for longer than that. Doesn't take all of that. They can pay it back quickly because they're going to be earning enough money to pay this back quickly. And they're not going through classroom indoctrination. Their teachers are actually on topic. So you want to be a mechanic? Fine. And that's all they teach. What exactly are you paying for? On that note, ladies and gentlemen, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez.
People's forgiveness, their student loans canceled, it means that, it's hope to buy a house or have a kid or travel abroad or maybe even go back to school.
Go back to school? Go back to school. So you're telling me that I'm on the hook for paying off somebody's student loans for a degree that they voluntarily signed up for, that they took out debt for, and now I have to pay for it so that they can go get a second degree and take out loans for that, and then what? Then you're going to tell me that I'm on the hook for paying for that too, because now it's their MBA that's keeping them from buying that 5-bedroom they've always wanted. Go back to school? Do they teach math in any of these schools? I don't know. The fact that student loan forgiveness doesn't actually forgive loans. It just transfers the balance onto somebody like me who paid off my own debt, or I don't know, wasn't stupid enough to be up to my eyeballs in debt in the first place. But sure, I'll just sit over here with my 1 degree and work my tail off until May to pay the tax bill so that I can foot the bill for Billy's degree so that he can just run out and get another one.
Yeah.
Go back to school.
I really agree with this lady here. But then, again, also, I still have to ask the question, what are you paying for? Is this what you're paying for? Okay, because I know, Harvard University. Let me check something real quick here. That's what I love about the Internet. I think about something, and I can just go ahead and ask. Of course, it would depend on what type of degree you are after. But let's go ahead and ask the question, how much does a typical degree at Yale cost? Okay. Tuition and fees, $67,250. Food, if they're going to stay in the dorm, $8,600. Books, materials, equipment, personal expenses, you're talking another $2,700. Student activities, and then, so you're talking a total of about $90,975. Now, realize I said typical. What is the typical cost? Because it can be more than that, depending on what your kid wants to go for. Now, for those of you who go, we'll probably deal with this at a different time, to University of Wyoming, someplace like that, it'd be quite a bit less, but it's still expensive. So if you see your young man or young lady out there protesting something to the point that even the police have to be called, and then it's time for Thanksgiving dinner, and they come back and, oh, dear Lord, what you're dealing with after Thanksgiving dinner, is that what you paid for? You were probably wanting to pay for some degree that would get them an extra start in life so they would be really successful. On the other hand, I bet you when the kid comes back from trade school after learning to be an electrician or a welder or a plumber or whatever the case is, I bet he's not a mess like that. And he didn't. And if you ask him how much time did you spend out protesting compared to class, they would look at you and raise an eyebrow and go, protesting? I'm time for that.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Make your voice heard at 888-97-WOODS. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
.48's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming, so off we go to the icebox where Frank Gambino is waiting by. Okay, Frank, those climbers who tried to do Everest, remember them?
Oh, they were at the airport yesterday.
Were they?
I heard that. I know. I met somebody at the Denver airport who was in the Casper airport and saw them leaving. Dr. McGinley?
Oh, yeah.
So now I guess he's climbing it on the China side.
Yes. Okay, so they originally tried to do Everest.
Too many people. Yeah.
It was ridiculous. So they went down to the South Pole, climbed a mountain there.
To practice,
yeah. Okay. Then they came back, and, they're climbing up the Himalayas, but from the other side, which is really rarely done. So these guys are setting all sorts of climbing records here. Yeah, it's got all their names. So did you get a chance to see them?
No, I heard this secondhand, but then again, I saw the pictures on the internet too.
Oh, okay.
Boy, they carry a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like they would have to check their own airplane.
Probably, if they could do that, they probably would. I don't know how they logistically do all of this, but let me see. To free climb, oh my God. Yeah, all of that equipment, because they're not free climbing this, they really can't. Let me see. They call themselves Cowboy Direct.
Direct to the top.
I guess so.
Or as close as they can get.
Yeah. Climbing gear, harnesses. Oh, and you got to figure all of the things. Now, I know they know how to put up with the cold and the wind. I mean, they live in Wyoming.
And oxygen tanks.
Oxygen tanks, stuff like that, thin. But there are some pictures of a few of them here still dealing with frostbite and so on their fingertips. But that's just going to happen.
You know, the thrill of adventure I get. But after a while, you'd be like, this is not good.
And
why am I up here? I mean...
Right.
And people have lost their lives doing this.
Bragging rights? Okay.
Nobody will... those folks could get a free pop or a beer from anybody
I'm
that they
sure
ever meet.
They would, yeah. Well, okay. A better way to pick up chicks?
At the top of Mount Everest.
No. By saying that they went to Mount
yeah.
Everest. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
See, this is why you're not good at picking up chicks, Frank. You got to think of these things.
No. I climb too.
Yeah, out of bed.
Stairs.
Yeah,
stairs.
Out of bed, yes. Yeah, out of bed, stairs.
That's two things I've done.
But here's your bragging rights. You were in the same airport as those guys.
At one juncture, yeah.
See, you didn't get to see them, but you get to say, yeah, but I was at the same airport as those guys at the same time. There.
See.
There. So, okay, just leave it at that, Frank. We all know that's as far. And we're glad, by the way, that you made it all the way upstairs to do the sports report.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Girls High School soccer from Friday. Laramie beat Sheridan 2-1. Campbell County over South 6-1. Thunder Basin defeated Cheyenne Central 2-0. And on Saturday, Riverton over Kelly Walsh 2-0. Cheyenne East and Thunder Basin played to a 1-1 tie. Campbell County over Laramie 2-0. And Sheridan beat Cheyenne South 3-0. For the boys over the weekend, first on Friday, Cheyenne Central beat Thunder Basin 4-1. Sheridan and Laramie played to a 2-2 tie. Campbell County shut out Cheyenne South 5-0 on Saturday. Kelly Walsh crushed Riverton 7-0. Sheridan over South 5-1. Laramie over Campbell County 4-0. And Thunder Basin and Cheyenne East played to a 4-4 tie. Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies split a doubleheader with Seattle yesterday in Denver. They won the first game 2-1 in 10 innings as Ryan McMahon drove in the game-winning run with a base hit in the 10th. That broke a 6-game losing streak for the Rockies, but Colorado returned to earth in the second game of the twin bill. They lost 10-2 as the Mariners scored 6 times in the second inning. The Rockies have 5-17. They have the worst record in the National League, and they'll host San Diego tonight in Denver. In the Stanley Cup playoffs in hockey, the Colorado Avalanche are down 1-0 in their series with Winnipeg after a 7-6 loss last night. The Avs were just plain sloppy on defense, and how does a team that scores 6 goals in a playoff game manage to lose? Winnipeg has been on fire lately. They've won 9 in a row and beat the Avs 3 straight times now. Game 2 of that series will be tomorrow in Canada. In the NBA playoffs, the Denver Nuggets hosting the Los Angeles Lakers tonight in Game 2 of their Western Conference series. The Nuggets won Game 1 handily as Nikola Jokic had 32 points for the Nuggets. Denver has just hammered the Lakers. They've won 9 straight times in that series between those two teams. And former Wyoming Cowboy player Larry Nance Jr. playing with the New Orleans Pelicans. And New O lost their first game in their series to Oklahoma City last night, 94-92. Nance had 8 points and 8 rebounds in 19 minutes of floor time. And coming up on Saturday, the Wyoming Cowboy football team will conclude spring drills with the spring game at Cheyenne East High School due to renovations at War Memorial Stadium. They'll start that at 1 o'clock at Oakey Blanchard Stadium in Cheyenne. That's it in sports.
I would actually pay money to see the worst team play the second worst team.
No,
I would. See, now everybody wants to go to when the 2 best teams play.
Right.
But, I mean, to get tickets to that, please. It's going to be how expensive? Find a hotel.
The whole 9 yards.
I mean, yeah, it's just going to be outrageous. But how easy is it to go to see the 2 worst teams play?
And you could probably sit as close as you possibly can get for like $10.
Hotels open.
Yeah.
All of them.
Oh, you're going to the game? Here's some comp.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, please go to the game.
Yeah,
please. Parking? Oh, think about it, Frank.
Yeah.
You're not fighting for parking. You can park anywhere you want.
And we'll comp that, too.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Beer, cheap.
Well, yeah.
Oh, they don't really reduce the cost of beer? The beer's still going to be expensive?
Yeah.
And then when you go into any restaurant and sit down and eat and say that you've been to the game, they'll feel sorry for you and probably comp your meal.
Perfect.
That's the game I'm going to, Frank.
Yep.
All right. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it again. It's Wake Up Wyoming.